that are represented here today. Lord, I ask your blessing upon them. I pray you give them wisdom and discernment, protect their families. Thank you for their hearts to serve us. And Lord, we ask you to bless them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you again, sir. Please rise and join me to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge.
All right, tonight we have 3 of our special first graders here, and all 3 of these students got a really great recognition. They all had perfect attendance for the first 9 weeks of school. All right, so we have Decker Flora and Sailor Rodriguez and Hannah Vu here with us tonight. I'm going to give you guys the microphone to lead our pledges.
Oh.
Ready?
You can hold it. You can hold it. Okay. Okay.
Ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
The Texas pledge over here.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
That was the best rendition yet. I'm very impressed. All right. Thank you, guys.
He goes, so nervous. Thank y'all. That's just the best. I'll now open it up. Are there any citizen or parent comments? None? Okay. Thank you. We'll now go into items of community interest. Mr. Sasser.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've got a really busy slate here, so I'll try to go quickly here to get it all in here. Let's start off with this Saturday. We've got the big Monster Mash event coming up on October 25th from 5 to 8 at the Westlake Academy campus and field house. The great news is this is open to all Westlake residents, so it's going to be a fantastic community event. I know the guys at Westlake Academy always do a fantastic job, and it's a ton of fun. Again, that's Saturday, 5 to 8 at the Westlake Academy Field House. The next planning and zoning meeting is going to be on the 10th of November. It was originally scheduled for the 4th, but due to the election, it has now moved to the 10th, which is a Monday. Usually it's on a Tuesday, but because of Veterans Day, it's going to be on November 10th at 5 o'clock. Our next town council meeting is going to be November 18th. Our town hall and municipal court they're going to be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday on November 27th and 28th. And our big Westlake Academy, or rather Westlake Together tree lighting event, mark your calendar, December 3rd. We're going to expand it from 6 to 9. The big feedback we got was it just wasn't enough time, so we're going to expand it to 3 hours this year. So it's going to be right out here as it always is. We're adding several new attractions, and we're hoping for the biggest crowd ever. We did move it to a Wednesday. Thursday is a Cowboys game, so we wanted to make sure that we get as many people as possible, unless we rented a gigantic screen, but that would kind of defeat the purpose. But yeah, again, Wednesday, December 3rd from 6 to 9, right outside of here, the council chambers. Some additional notes. Early voting started yesterday and runs through the 31st for the November 4th election. There are several key items on the ballots, including a special election for the Texas Senate District 9 seat, including 17 propositions and all the other seats that are open there. So we have tons of information about early voting, including where, the times, locations, sample ballots, and so forth, all on the front of our website for your viewing. Our big fall cleanup event was a big success. We had about 30 vehicles participate. Residents dropped off such things as batteries, paint, light bulbs, gasoline, pool chemicals, and other materials that we don't want in our landfills and and our water systems. Also, 17 cars dropped off items like electronics. Some cars coming through 2 or 3 times, so that was really neat to see. We want to say a special thank you to Casey and our utility and facility coordinator, Diana Render, for all their help to putting this together. And quick little note here, in our survey that we sent out a few weeks ago to residents, they said that they would prefer to have this in the springtime. So we're going to reboot this here in the spring and move it in 2026. So we'll have plenty of information about that when it comes around. So we will be moving that. Speaking of the trash survey, we told you guys that everybody kind of spoke, the Westlake residents spoke, and we're going to be moving the trash and recycling pickup day from Friday to Thursday. That's going to be come to you guys for a vote next in the November council meeting, and then we're hoping to have that day moved by the beginning of 2026, sometime in January. Again, this is a big deal to every resident, and it impacts everybody, so we're going to make sure we communicate it in all kinds of ways. So please stand by and wait for that information. But again, we're hoping to do it at the beginning of January, where we're going to move it from Friday to Thursday. Keeping with the theme of trash, our mayor's volunteer service program, we're going to be picking up trash with the help of the mayor and the YMSL. The first one is going to be on Sunday. This Sunday, the 26th. And then there's going to be one on the 2nd and the 16th as well. The first 3 are going to be exclusive to those folks, to those volunteers, and then we're going to open it up to all Westlake residents and all Westlake Academy students for the service hours and credit. So that's going to be really cool. The mayor, you were sharing with me some of your plans and outlines today. Well organized.
I got it all laid out. I got 8 zones.
Yeah,
and yeah, we're ready to go. So
we're going to hang on to that scenic city platinum designation for sure because of all of this work. So again, that's more information to come on our website and social media and your emails as well. Their new water bills, as well as our new utility billing payment portal is now live. That started off at the beginning of this month. We launched the online portal where you can view your bill, see comprehensive information about your water usage, and manage your payments all in one place on your phone and on your computer. You may have noticed your bill looks very different from the old ones. We have pictures of not only a hard copy that you get in the mail, but as well as an email as well on the front cover of our website. So if you have any doubts that this is coming from us, because I know it does look different, it's the first change in quite some time, feel free to reference that story on the front cover of our website or on our social media as well to kind of check out what it looks like. And to make this transition as smoothly as possible, we've created a website so you can set up your account and get all your billing information updated. It is important to note that since this portal is brand new, it won't accept your old credentials for the old portal, so you have to create a new account. And also, if you're on the credit card draft, you want to remain on that draft, you'll need to re-sign up by October 26th. But again, just check out the front cover of our website. It has all this information, super easy, and it's really user-friendly. And then a couple of other notes here quickly. All Westlake residents here in the next few days will be receiving a survey from the town on behalf of Westlake Academy. We're going to ask questions about, do you have school-age children? What grades are they in? What schools do they go to? Obviously, we service 3 ISDs as well as the academy, and we have a lot of kids who go to private schools as well. So we want to know exactly, where our kids are going and why. So it's going to be an incredibly quick and easy survey. It'll take 2 or 3 minutes, and we would love your feedback so we can get a better understanding of our demographics and where our kids are going to school and why.
Hey, John, real quick.
Yes,
Kelly,
sir.
do we ask if they had kids in school, or is it current, or both?
Both.
Good.
Right.
Good answer.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And finally, I'd like to turn it back over to the mayor for a special proclamation.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Thank you very much. It is with great pleasure. I want to recognize the contributions of Stroll Westlake Magazine. We have Connie and Diana here. Whereas Stroll Magazine was served as a value source of connection, storytelling, community pride for the residents of Westlake. And whereas under the leadership of Connie Vernon, publisher, and Diana Rainey, managing editor, the magazine has consistently highlighted the achievements, events, and unique character of our town, fostering a strong sense of belonging among neighbors. And Stroll Magazine has provided a platform for local voices, celebrated the accomplishments of residents, and supported local businesses throughout thoughtful features and engaging content. And the dedication and vision of Connie Vernon and Diana Rainey have ensured that the magazine will not only inform but inspire, strengthen, and bonds that makes Westlake a vibrant and welcoming community. And the town of Westlake wishes to acknowledge the positive impact Stroll Westlake in enhancing civic pride, promoting community engagement, and preserving the stories that define our shared identity. Now, therefore, I, Kim Graves, the mayor of the town of Westlake, and the town council do hereby recognize and commend Stroll Westlake magazine publisher Connie Vernon and managing editor Diana Rainey for their outstanding contributions to the cultural and social fabric of our community, and encourage of all residents to join in expressing appreciation for their continued service. Thank you all. Come on up. Finally meeting you in person. Yes. I told them earlier I wish my English high school teacher was still alive, because I'd tell her I'd do it a monthly column, so there. She'd be impressed. Yeah, you said that's exactly right. So you guys, thank you very much. Again, your magazine for our community and the stories you run in it, and as we were talking earlier, just all the positive things that you guys write about and present, and we're always thinking about what can we send to Stroll. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. We're now moving into presentations. Receive a presentation from Methodist Southlake Medical Center, Benson Chaco. Benson, how are you, sir? Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your time, and council members and mayor, appreciate the opportunity to connect with you all as our neighbors right down the road off 114. And so just to tell you a little bit about our hospital and kind of how we've evolved the hospital to a full-service organization. Clicker work? Fantastic. All righty. So a little about Methodist Health System is we are a health system based out of Dallas. We were founded nearly 100 years ago in South Dallas. A group of Methodist ministers came together to say, hey, there is no health care in South Dallas. We need to bring health care. I like to say 100 years later, we are still the only one down in South Dallas. But we have evolved and grown. And so as you see these access points here, while we started in Dallas as one hospital in 1927, we now have over 120 different access points throughout DFW. So where our hospitals are in Methodist Charlton in South Dallas, Methodist Dallas is what we call it the mothership, Methodist Richardson, Methodist Salina is now open, Methodist Midlothian, Methodist Mansfield, and Methodist Southlake. And so there are 7 wholly owned hospitals, full-service hospitals, serving the DFW community. We're also, as we look in Northeast Tarrant County, we know it's a very competitive area. When we came in to take over this hospital, we knew that it would be a challenge to compete with other organizations that have been here for, I'll say, decades. Our competitors to the east of us have been here for 70 years. Our competitors to the west of us in the Alliance Corridor for 14 years. North Hills has been here for 40, and THR-HEB for 50 years. And Methodist just celebrated our 4th anniversary here in Southlake. And so we're excited to be part of it. For us, we want to be the number one provider of choice for this community. While we're based in Southlake, we serve 11 different municipalities. That means 11 different communities, 11 different fire chiefs, getting out there, letting them know who we are, and we're no longer the organization that we were as far as a surgical hospital. Since Methodist has taken over, we have acquired 30 acres of land. So we're right on the corner of Whitechapel and 114, right next to the Delta Hotel. And so Methodist, when we took over, we said, hey, we're going to make this a full-service hospital, and one day it'd be a 300-bed hospital. So we acquired all the land around it. We have 52 beds, which 6 of them are full ICU. We've expanded our emergency room from 3 beds to 12 beds, and legal only allows us to say that our wait is about 15 minutes, but I promise you it's going to be sooner than that. We have a full OR services there. We've converted one of our ORs into a cath lab, and we have 2 GI suites, and we also have 10 family suites that we look to grow into on our 3rd floor. From a service line standpoint, we've added several service lines to the organization in the last 4 years. What you see here highlighted is what we have on emergency coverage, and so we have a cardiac program, a STEMI program. We have stroke services. We're going to go towards a primary stroke survey this next year, but we've also added intensivists and full, board-certified emergency room medicines that can take care of either pediatric or adult patients. If a patient needs pediatric care, we will transfer them, pediatric inpatient care, we'll transfer to the parent's choice, either Cook's or Children's. We don't get into that fight between which hospital they want to go to. It's more of the parent's choice. We've been able to keep patients here in Southlake longer and no longer transferring them out as much. We're now transferring out pediatric patients and behavioral health. Most everything else is being able to stay here in our community. From an emergency room standpoint, as I mentioned, we expanded the ER. The things that we're most proud of is our 2024 Healthcare Guardian of Excellence Award. This is given by Press Ganey based off of 40,000 clients throughout the country. What they look and see is how are we performing across the country. What they said was we were performing at the top 5%. Our 2024 patient satisfaction metrics were at the top 5% of the country. And we are the only hospital in this area, Northeastern County, with that award. We just got our CMS star rating just recently this summer. We came out of the gates with a 4-star. The highest you can get is 5 stars, so we're very proud of being able to get to that quality metric. Emergency room, we are expanding, as I mentioned, our services. And so in February of 2024, we started our STEMI program. And then in December of 2024, we added our GI service line. We've been able to partner with Chief Ard and the other fire chiefs in the area to keep patients closer to home without having to go further east from our standpoint. Where you see here is the increased EMS volume that we're seeing from the third quarter of 2023, where we had maybe 1 or 2, through the third quarter of 2025, we had over 15 EMS runs from Westlake. So we're able to keep patients or those employees that are working here during the day closer to their homes. We're excited about that. This is the main reason why I'm here today, is to explain to you as far as what we've achieved in the 18 months of a cardiac program. We are now a primary heart attack center. This is the closest primary heart attack center to Westlake. Only 3 hospitals in this area have this certification: us, Baylor Grapevine, and THR-HEB. This certification is given by the Joint Commission of the American Heart Association. It is considered the gold standard of cardiac care. And so I'm very proud of our team being able to achieve this in 18 months of starting this program. And so what this helps is time to get to the hospital is muscle time. That helps Chief Ard and his team making sure that they get their patient to the hospital as soon as possible to open up that valve. Our average door-to-balloon time, the national standard is 90 minutes. Ours is 49 minutes. 49 minutes compared to 90 minutes. It's largely part of our cardiologists that we have. Doctors Fay, Alamar, and Dr. Kruger are part of the Methodist Medical Group. Their office is in North Twitchland Hills, right off of 26th and Precinct. The interesting thing is Dr. Alamar lives in Southlake, Dr. Fay is Colleyville, and Dr. Kruger is Southlake. So oftentimes when Chief Ard's team is activating from the field, saying, hey, this is a STEMI, these guys are there meeting EMS in the ER, even when they're coming from home.
Did you have one of those in the last couple of weeks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, from Lifetime Fitness.
Yeah, so we've had we had two from Southlake here recently, and I think we've worked with Chief Ard on other patients, bringing them over to the hospital, being able to open those valves up quickly and efficiently, and really getting them home in a couple of days. And so previously, EMS would have to go to another hospital, potentially wait, but now we're able to get them in really. I would like to say is our cardiologists are very competitive on their Google ratings, and so they weren't happy they weren't at a 5, and I said, guys, you can't be a 5, it's okay. But they are very happy with what they're able to connect with their patients. From a primary care standpoint, we're adding more primary care offices. We have one in Southlake, one in Colleyville, and we're opening one in Trophy Club right next to the Chipotle, so right across the highway from Westlake. And
we can get you. What? Come on, Wade.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but we'll be right here to take care of those patients.
We'll be right here.
So we're excited to partner with you all, and so that's a great access point for us. Like as I say, while we're based in Southlake, we're here to serve the entire community, and so that's where you see that Colleyville and that Trophy Club location opening up. And we like to say we're here for the good times and the bad times, right? So the bad times are when people come into the hospital, but it's also partnering with you all in the community. And so these are just examples of what we do. So whether it's partnering with Chief Ard as our reigning champions of the chili cook-off at Southlake, or if it's with the Westlake Academy. And so we are just excited to partner with you all. Again, that is the Methodist mission, is being a community hospital. It's not just to take the business, it's to be here, like I said, the good times and bad. And then also other events that we focus in on, we're bringing in individuals as far as if it's from the chambers and their leadership courses, bringing them in to let them see what we're doing in the hospital to educate individuals. There is another great hospital here in this area for folks to. Our patient experience, this is one of the things that myself and our community relations director, and I like to say our physicians relations director, our job is made much easier when we're built off of quality and patient-centered care. And so what this graph shows here is that over the last 4 years, our inpatient, which is HCAHPS, has been at the top decile. Outpatient is now at the 99th percentile. Our outpatient surgery is in the top quartile, and our ER has been at the top decile as well. And so it is patient experience is number one. This is given by Prescanian. So this is what we focus on, is build a quality program, and then we'll be able to win over our folks. Our Google rating is at a 4.2 star rating. And finally, I want to end it. I think we've got a video to share. And this really sums it up as far as how far we've come in the last 4 years.
I am an amateur hobbyist at the heart. Been playing for about 6 years. That was one of the things I was eager to do when I got back. There was a wedding that evening. I wasn't feeling well, and I told Leah to go on ahead. And when she got home, we were talking about the wedding. All of a sudden, it just went to black. Leah was standing over me, telling me that the EMTs were coming. When the EMTs came, checking me, probing me, I was alert, talking to them. There was a discussion about where we would go. In the ambulance, I had another event. Somebody in the ambulance declared, "We're going to Methodist." When I got to the hospital, they anticipated that it would be a clogged artery, but when they checked me, my arteries are clear. There was a period I would get stable, and then I'd go back into cardiac arrest.
We're sitting there, and they all of a sudden say, "Code Blue, room 6." We look at each other. That was his room, and then we just waited. In about a minute or so, some staff came out and told us that, yes, he did code, but when we get him in there and do this procedure, he's going to be okay.
The electrical signals weren't traveling correctly, and so my heart was just in disarray. They determined that a pacemaker defibrillator would be best, and it worked.
The doctors and nurses and everyone were just top-notch.
I'm thankful where I am, and I give credit to their expertise. And one of my goals is try to keep perspective on what's important, and to trust more in the Lord, and casting my anxieties on Him because He cares for me. I think it would be very good for Southlake to appreciate and understand that Methodist is here, what Methodists can do. They are very, very, very capable of addressing medical needs for those in and around Southlake.
We'll just say during that time when the patient was in our hospital, the ICU is right down the hallway from administration, and he coded several times. And we would hear that overhead, and we knew this patient had come in. We didn't think he was going to make it. I like to say we're God's hands and feet. As a faith-based organization, that's what we do. And he definitely worked through our team to make sure Rob was able to go back home. And so it was a great story that hearing the number of times he coded in the building that he was able to go home and saving lives through quality, compassionate care. Open if any questions.
Just a couple of comments. We met over a year ago. We got to tour your hospital. It's a beautiful hospital, and then we bump into each other on some social civic events. And one thing we really wanted the residents of Westlake to know is your hospital is there. There is an emergency room. It is quicker. And then I'll defer to your guys. I spent a lot of time at Lifetime. I know we had an event there. They told me your guys were there like that, and it was pretty serious. And then they got to your place, and everything's fine. But they did ask for Lifetime memberships. That'd be even closer if that happened. So I'm working on that, Chief, for your guys. But just great job, and we're glad you're in the neighborhood. We know there's a little history of that hospital, and now it's in your hands, and it's just doing great. So thank you. Any questions or comments? Great. Listen, thank you
all.
For
Appreciate
here.
your
Great
time.
seeing you. Okay, next on the agenda item is E2, receive utility rate study. Casey? With your Texas Longhorn dress on today, although I know you're an OU fan.
And there's a lot of confliction happening. The app showed this to be much more khaki than it actually showed up. All right, so this evening we are going to hear from our consultant, NewGen, specifically Matthew Garrett. He's going to go over an updated rate study. So it's typical that you do a full utility rate study every 3 to 5 years, just depending on changing needs. Obviously, in the last 3 years, particularly our public works has seen a lot of change, much for the better. So we thought it was a good opportunity for us to engage a consultant to really look at those changes, adopting a CIP, being much more proactive in water loss and infrastructure repairs. So all of that is factored into this study. Tonight, we are not recommending any action be taken. We are proposing a slight tweak to the volumetric rate structure. Base rates are proposed to stay flat under this study, but we are also wanting feedback from y'all. And whatever we hear, we'll bring back for an ordinance at next month's meeting that we will make any adjustments to a rate study that y'all say that you would like, and that would go into effect for citizens on January 1. And with that, I will turn it over to Matthew.
Thanks, Casey.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? Excellent. Thank you, Kevin, for the head nod. Well, pleasure. Thank you for letting me join virtually. Actually just had a knee surgery, so this worked out like a charm. But as Casey said, I'm Matthew Garrett with NewGen Strategies and Solutions. Looking forward to talking through this. You guys are in a unique position with a strong utility, strong cash position. We have the good fortune of looking at the principles around rate setting and not just increasing what we've got because we have to pay bills. So with that, if whoever's driving could advance the slides. Thank you so much. So sort of starting with the end, in the beginning, with our proposed rate changes, as we've looked through this, a typical customer will have actually a slight reduction, and it's slight. It's in the pennies compared to the current rates, but that's through fiscal year 28. And that's unlike many of my clients who are hearing 8 to 10% increases. So hopefully that's good news. To accomplish that, we are proposing lowering the top tier volume threshold on the residential customers. We're essentially dropping that from 400 to 100,000 gallons. We'll get into that in a later slide. We also looked at the tier differentials. So the rate that you charge for each successively greater unit, and we'll talk about what your tiers are and what those charges are. We re-examined that with staff feedback and have proposed a few tweaks, as Casey mentioned, that would allow the city, or the town rather, to use the proposed rates. As mentioned, no increases are recommended to the minimum charges. We do understand that people are sensitive to rates, and if we can not affect that base bill and they can affect their bill with their usage, we think that's a win. And then lastly, we do have a small rate change on the volumetric rate increase expected in fiscal year 29, just to get over the hurdle, as we do have some additional cost, as we'll talk through in a minute. Another major change is establishing a separate rate class or category for town and academy accounts. And so we would suggest that it's from the same pocket, and that in this way the town and academy could pay its way at cost instead of matching the rest of the retail rate design for commercial or residential accounts. So effectively that would set it at cost for water, and like others in wastewater. Lastly, we do think the current design allows you to minimize bill impacts. It's kind of repositions who's paying and discretionary water use versus non-discretionary was contemplated, and we're able to hit our financial targets. So I think it's a good story. But want to get into some of the details with you next, if we could. Thank you. So again, I've already said it, to echo though, the town is in a very strong financial position. So kudos to town staff, current leadership, and past leadership for putting you in this position. You do have wholesale purchases, relatively steep, so you have an average annual rate of change about 8% over the next 5 years. Wastewater treatment with TRA remains a little slower at 2% on average. Nonetheless, we do anticipate increases for your wholesale, and as a utility with a wholesale water and wholesale wastewater treatment provider, those two expenses make up a large portion of your total cost. Other costs are associated with new bonds and the related debt service. We do have some cash capital anticipated. Beyond that, a little bit under the hood, we had general inflation on many of your accounts, and then additionally the construction or CCI inflation index of about 3.36 against the currently planned capital items. Any questions on the inputs?
Nope. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. So again, this is the same information but visualized. If you look at that bottom chart or the bottom bar, it's a dark blue. The O&M is really only increasing by about 4% per year on average. So a pretty modest rate of change for your operating expenses. That would be except for your water and sewer purchases, the light blue and the light green, which are made up of the next layer. After that, you have a small sliver, almost indetectable, of transfers in gray. You do show some cash capital outlays, primarily in yellow in 2028, 30, and 31. And you'll see your current debt service is that lighter orange. And then stacked on top of that, we have that burnt orange in 28 through 31, representing new principal and interest payments on some contemplated debt. Primarily, as noted there to the left, the capital projects that are included in that debt includes elevated storage tank number 2 and pump station number 2. Those are partially funded through the utility, and if you'll advance to the next slide, our capital cost funding does include a mix. And so there is continued investment. It's about $48 million through fiscal 2031. Almost all of that, as you can see, 47.8 of the 47.9 is for water infrastructure. We do anticipate using about $1 million of cash for that. The general fund, you'll see, is on the hook for $22.3 million. We anticipate $19 million for debt. And you do have some existing bond proceeds, which are covering the fiscal 26 water projects.
Matthew, can I stop you there for a second?
Yes, please.
And could you go back to the prior slide?
Absolutely.
It looks like the water purchases are increasing, so it must be a combination of the percentage increase that we're expecting, plus volume.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes,
So how much... What are we anticipating for volume percentage increases?
The volume's pretty slight with 60 to 70 connections per year. So we aren't anticipating a substantial volume change. We are anticipating 4% per year increases. Dallas Water doesn't give us, Fort Worth Water. We don't necessarily have a 5-year perspective with any promise of what their rates will be, but we've anticipated 4%. That is at your current capacity, which is 2.8 MGDs or million gallons per day of capacity. So we didn't change that value, but your total volume would increase slightly with those additional connections. Okay. So again, just a peek at your current rate design. I say this to every council I talk with. I do this for a living. I live in McKinney, Texas, and I do not know my rates. You'd think I would be really interested in what McKinney's charging me, but it's just a bill. So we like to show it because you as a council member may or may not be that familiar with your rate design. So 2 parts to the rate. You have a minimum rate that is based on meter size. So that 3/4 inch is that lowest value. A lot of your customers do have a 1-inch connection. And then you'll see all the way through a 6-inch rate. Larger meters pay more. That is an industry best practice, so I'm glad that's already in place. Additionally, while we're on minimum rates, you do have a slight differential between the commercial customer and the residential customer. That is not unique to Westlake. That's a pretty normal practice. Ultimately, more of our changes for rate design are related to the volumetric rates. So to spend a minute on that, your base volumetric tier of 0 to 20,000 gallons That is substantially higher than many of the comparators. But so too is your median usage. And we'll look at that here in a moment. You have, as you're aware, properties that are generally fairly large with fairly expansive irrigation use and much larger consumption on average than many of our North Texas clients, customer cities and the like. With that, you have a 20,000 to 40,000 gallon rate tier. Again, you do have a differential between commercial and residential, but you'll see that you have some adjustment between those tiers. So that's what we call that rate differential. And that rate differential as it stands between the first block and the second block is around 31%. It actually drops to a smaller percentage in the 40 to 100,000, and then the 400,000 plus range at 903.
Wade, what's our average pipe size? What is that in our town?
Generally a 1-inch connection.
For residential, generally?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Wastewater rates, similarly, you do have a meter equivalency minimum charge factor, and so there is a difference there based on the size of the connection or the meter. More specifically, on the volumetric rates, you have a differential, again, for residential and commercial, where the first 2,000 gallons for a resident are included in the minimum. Additional 1,000 gallons after that will be 836, and all volumes for commercial starting at the first 1,000 gallons at 1006. And while we're here specific to wastewater, just a quick note, your current rate per 1,000 gallons is actually $10.13 per 1,000 gallons. And so it's important that your minimums, as they appropriately do, generate a fixed cost recovery that help overcome that variable cost. Like many communities, wastewater is more expensive than the water per unit, effectively treated or flow, however you measure it. If you go to the next slide, we'll get into some of the comparisons. So when we compare the revenues as they stand with current rates and projected with some slight increase in counts or connections, you'll see that revenues are well outperforming expenses today. You'll see that in the left chart where expenses are in yellow, revenues in blue. But in short order, that's overtaken over time, where your expenses are greater in fiscal year 29 than your revenues, and then you fall short. Additional metrics that we look at in the middle chart, debt service coverage is generally a metric used. It may be in a bond covenant, but for the town specifically, this is a policy to achieve a 1.12. Most of your bonds, if not all, are done with a double barrel or tax backing, and so the mandate is less. You don't have to hit as high of a debt service coverage target. What that means as a surety, or technically as a commitment, a debt service coverage would say, after we pay our bills for operating, we have enough money to cover all of our debt service for the year with excess revenues. So revenues, less operating expenses, do we have enough to pay our debts? If we had exactly our expenses, then we would have a debt service coverage ratio of 1. The town in its policies as a target aspires to actually have 12% more over and above the debt need in surplus revenues. So that's why you see the straight line or the flat line as sort of a floor of a 1 times coverage, and then our target of a 1.12, which is not a requirement, but rather a goal. And then lastly, the third metric is days cash on hand. You're in a very solid position on a cash position with a floor or minimum of 90 days cash on hand, and a target of 360, and you're exceeding that as it stands. So that's why you do see a slight reduction over time, because you have some headroom. We, with the current proposed rate plan, have afforded that to drop a little bit between now and fiscal 2031. Any questions about these metrics? I know I talked quickly through them.
Any questions? Nope, we're good.
Okay, appreciate that. Sorry to prompt, I just don't have the non-visual or the nonverbal.
We got it.
So real quick, we did look at all of your bill details for 3 years. I went back October 22 to June 2025. This is the frequency distribution for your residential water users. You see we've marked a few thresholds. That first threshold says 9.5% of bills, not customers, but actual bills in that period, were exceeding 100,000 gallons. Even smaller margin in residential customers get into that 400,000 plus range. As a result, and as mentioned before, we think that the 400,000 plus range is sort of outside of the realm of reason or need for a residential customer. It's a lot more than marginal. It's 0.1% of bills touch it. So it's not really having an effect. So if we were to reduce our top tier threshold from the 400 to 100, we would be affecting that most discretionary water consumption for a little under 10% of our bills. And these feed into our rate recommendations and the proposed rate design changes. So that's why we're showing you how that pans out. If no questions, the next slide will contrast residential
Matthew,
and
sorry,
commercial.
I'm going to interrupt. I do have one quick question. So just to confirm.
Oh, please.
Yeah, the proposal here is to say sort of the most egregious users of water are going to pay a higher proportion of highest users of water are going to pay a significantly higher rate on that excess usage above 100,000 gallons a month.
Yeah, so we're just lowering the threshold from, we're saying 400,000 is not really the demarc for what we would call highly discretionary, probably outdoor water consumption for a resident. We're saying 100,000 is a reasonable bar that anybody over that amount would be paying what would be our highest rate for water.
Okay.
Correct.
And you're going to get into the recommendations of what that rate would be.
Yes, sir.
And that would only affect about 10% of the bills.
Of the bills, yes, sir. And so that generally is affecting 350 or so of your residents, and probably for 2 months, 2.5 months of the year. So as we looked at the data, that's kind of what we found out. There aren't that many, and certainly not with any regularity, breaching that 100,000 mark.
So, sorry, just to confirm the numbers, you said 10% would be 350 residents. That doesn't square with the, or does that include that includes residential and commercial?
Well, so no, I apologize. So what you're looking at is a percent of bills for that period. And so what we have is a unique count of customers that touch that. So for that 10% of total bills, we have 350 customers that get into that. So I believe the math is approximately annualized. You have 8,500 bills that go out.
Yeah, I can touch on that a little
800
bit.
of those are over 100,000. Of that 800, there are a number of customers that are in that zone more than once, so for 2 to 3 months a year. And so it would touch 350 customers 2 to 3 months out of the year.
Let me interrupt just for a second because I think I can shed some light on this. There's a great number of our residents that actually have 2 water meters. So they're effectively receiving 2 bills a month. That's why you see that higher increase in the number. The population is definitely not 4,800, but we definitely have a lot of customers that have 2 bills coming to them.
Right, but those 350 bills, that's 350 over the course of the year. So it could be the same customer getting 3 bills.
That's correct.
Right. So it's really, I'm just trying to understand how many households in the town is it impacting? And it sounds like if it's going off 10%, it's 180 households, but it sounds like it's probably much lower than that even.
It is, yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking about just raw counts. Forgive me. So yeah, we were talking about 2 different things when I mentioned counts versus this representation of the monthly bills. So this is out of 8,500 bills, right? Because it's your 700 plus, is it 750? I think is what I have. 700 or so residents, 710 maybe precisely, times 12, right? You get more than that. And so 10% of the total residential bills on average are getting into that 100,000. Does that make sense now?
Yes.
Okay. Appreciate appreciate it. Sorry for any confusion between the two metrics I shared. Similarly, on commercial, we called out the volumes and the number of bills that exceed the 100,000 and the 400,000. Here you have a much greater difference where previously you had 0.1% of bills in residence that were exceeding 400,000. Here we have almost 13% exceeding 400,000. We know there are a handful of really substantial users. You probably all know them by name. We aren't seeking to penalize them, and so we'll talk about the rate design differences between our commercial rates and our residential rates in just a moment. But that's really all that these were meant to do, is to show you we did look at each customer and each bill for some number of years, plotted those, and tried to make sure that our proposed rates didn't adversely affect any of the user groups substantially. So here's what that adjustment looks like when we talk about the rate design adjustments. This whole slide is for your residential water customers. Notably, we are talking about the reduction of the top tier from 400,000 to 100,000. So to demonstrate that, we actually show the two blocks of 100 to 400 and 400 and plus. As I mentioned before, the current rate differential between your tiers or blocks is 31%, then down to 23, and then when you go up to 400,000, it's actually a 29% jump. Instead of having that, we've actually recommended a flat 30% differential, and you can see that there in the second column, where we'd have 30, 30, 30, and that would start at 100,000 for the top tier. The resulting rates then are on the far right with the differential. It's 432, 30% is a little less than the current 31, so this 20 to 40,000 gallon range, which is where your median customer is, at 25,000 gallons per month, actually sees a 4-cent decrease to the volumetric rate on those 20,000 gallons. And then it goes up from there, and so instead of a rate of $6.98 for volumes between 100 and 400,000, which we've already identified are relatively low in count, it would be $9.50 and not the $6.98. And then at 400 plus, we wouldn't make a change because 100 is our top tier, so it would continue at $9.50. Any questions about this? I know there's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah, I just have a question. Why, or what is the logic behind having a differential rate versus a flat rate? What's the advantage to the flat rate?
Sure. So an advantage to the flat rate was the question?
Yeah, well, why historically did we have a differential rate, if you know? And
yes.
Why is the proposal to move to a flat rate? Is there what's the logic behind that?
Sure. So the logic around a tiered rate at all, so we call this an inclining block rate structure, is to continue to send a price signal as the water becomes higher and higher in discretionary usage. This is like having a plant that's got 4 batches of orders that hit 3 times a year, right? So we have a supply system. With a storage tank, you saw that was one of your big items. You have a pump station as a big item. Those assets are sized to meet peak capacity. So the reason we like an inclining block rate structure is to what we call shave peak. And we don't think that people are going to stop using water, but we want to disincentivize wasteful water.
I don't want you to have to go too far down that path. That part's crystal clear. I'm just kind of curious, the actual percentage differential to go from 31 to 23. I mean, I think about it like a tax system. You know, it's varying differentials between each tax bracket. Sure. But so what was the reason for having sort of a smaller percentage differential between the 20,000, 40,000 to 40,000, 100 of the past versus now moving towards a flat 30% between each?
Gotcha. I don't have the historical context. Perhaps staff could speak to that if anybody's moving to the podium or raising their hand. I would say that industry best practice is actually to gradually increase that premium, not to decrease that premium.
I would have to be guessing on what previous administrations were thinking, but we have such a lack of commercial development in town for so long. I think that they were trying to encourage commercial growth. That would be the only reason that I can think of that you would decrease on the larger units. You'll see the same thing, yeah, in resident. Sorry.
Matt, can I just ask one question just in anticipation? Are you going to talk about what the average bill will look like?
Yes, so we have a few slides that show the bill impact to that median or typical residential user and a few commercial users as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. So I apologize, I don't know who answered on staff, but I think you're spot on with the presumption that it may have been to appease or attract commercial that you had that altering differential and maybe less than the first step. We've actually split the two, right? So currently you have 31, 23, and 29% per block, and that's affecting residential and commercial users the same. So in our current analysis, and as we showed with the frequency distribution, these are substantially different user groups. And the likelihood of discretionary water in that 400,000 plus range for your commercial it's probably not just outdoor watering, right? It's probably cooling towers. It's probably a number of other business process uses. So we've actually split. We've gone away from the matching 30-30-30 in the residential here to, if you'll see the proposed differential, it's actually 30 and then down to 20 and then yet again 20. And the commercial customer here actually sees a lower rate for the 400,000 plus than the current rate design, and users at 100,000 to 400,000 see that slight increase between 792 and 892.
That seems like a very substantial discount. It's more than a 10% discount from what they're paying currently under the new model. I mean, I would presume that this is generating, a non-insignificant amount of revenue for the town.
Yes, but when you look at it, since we added a tier, then when you combine those two tiers together, because they're going to pay that third tier up to 400,000 gallons, and then they're going to pay that last tier above 400,000. So the actual revenue that we're going to receive is not that different than it was, and you'll see that through the bill estimations that he has coming up. Again, one of the things we look at is these super users. They're bringing in a great number of people into the town, which bring in a great amount of sales tax into the town. So there's some idea that there needs to be some sort of offset for the amount of sales tax and other tax use that's coming in, so long as we can ensure that our residents are not footing the majority of the bill.
Yeah, and in addition to those comments, just like my factory example, if you have a customer that's always a high quantity customer and your assembly line is always cranking out hundreds of thousands for them, then their unit rate could be more equal. They're not putting as much stress on your peak months. Your system is utilized for them more consistently year-round, is another good reason, principally, to set these rates in this manner.
In the electric business, you call that load factor. So if you have a high load factor customer, it means they're going to be running that manufacturing plant all the time, generating plant all the time, so you can give them a load.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we do have an arm of electric. We'd also be keen to interested in their demand charge as well. But yeah, same principle, exactly. We're selling a commodity, and if someone will take it consistently, their unit rate might be favorable. All right, so while we talk about the rate increases, you see a whole bunch of zeros, but we just talked about a lot of rate design changes. So while we aren't talking about changing the baseline minimums, and we're not talking about changing that 0 to 20,000 gallon rate, we have talked about some rate design changes that would produce a shift, right, as we discussed, of what people pay at that 20 to 40, it's a little less, and what people would pay at 40 to 100, that's a little more, maybe a little less for commercial, and then a lot more for 100 to 400,000 for both residential and commercial. But with that, the only other rate change, in addition to the design changes we're recommending, you'll see is in fiscal year 29, where both water and wastewater would need a volumetric change of 2%. So yeah, this gets to the heart of the question. Previously, what is the bill impact? Well, ultimately, we actually have a 20-cent impact, a slight reduction to a typical resident, because if you recall, we had that, 4-cent reduction to Tier 2. Instead of making it a 31% differential, it's 30, so a very nominal decrease. When we do get around to our next rate increase, that would affect a typical resident with 25,000 gallons of water and 13,000 gallons of wastewater use. That would be a $4 change per month, and that's in fiscal year 29, which is a 1%. And I should have noted this is a 1-inch meter residential customer, which is your most prevalent. So not a lot of change. A little bit almost negligible to the good in the near term, and a very slight increase in fiscal year 29.
Very manageable.
Okay. Commercial impact, again, for this typical commercial customer, you have, as we showed, a lot of customers in the commercial class that are not exceeding 100,000. They too would have this very minor decrease. They would have an increase additionally in fiscal year 29 when we do the other rate increases. And we have another customer in the commercial class to show on the next slide with 100,000 gallons. I thought regional comparisons, sorry. Any questions on the bill impacts as we look at the design over the next 5-6 years?
I mean, the story of this case is really non-event.
What the average commercial customer is not using 25,000, right?
No, sir. We use the median value. I don't have the average hot and ready, but I can get that pretty quickly if you'd like.
That chart said 25,000 for.
I think it was a median. Did we misquote and say average?
No,
I would say typical.
It says typical, and I wouldn't think a typical commercial customer would be using the same as a residential customer.
Well, you just have a whole range of customers. When we took the median, it's right around that 25,000, I believe.
Okay. All right. Not what I would have thought, but you did the study.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of small users too.
It's irrigation for the yards is really where the majority of the usage is. And when you get into most of our commercial customers, other than our super users, right, there's not a lot of that going on.
All businesses, right?
Yeah, and you do have a number of standalone irrigation meters. We didn't plot those here, right? This is the domestic commercial and domestic residential water rate designs that we're adjusting, at least on screen here. Right. So again, sort of a proof of rates here. We showed you these same illustrations previously, but now we're able to exceed just by a hair our targeted debt service coverage in fiscal year 2031. As stated before, we have some over recovery in the current years. We allow for some under recovery in the out years, and that allows our days cash on hand to fall, but still be well above our target of 360 days. So that's the net impact, again, if all other assumptions hold true, of this rate plan as proposed to you.
To that last slide, Casey, please. So under the rate plan of increasing by 2% in 2029, our revenues are still below our expenses in 2030 and 2031. We're not meeting our expenses.
No, sir.
Slightly.
Just very slightly, and we have plenty of cash on
So it's
hand
just
to make that difference.
eating up the cash,
That's correct.
just using
Yes,
the
sir.
reserves.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and though Casey mentioned not taking any rate action or considering it, we would assume you would look at this with some frequency. And so in the near term, we'd assume just the fiscal year 26 or 27 rates would be more of the focus, with time to edit in the future if other things, subject to check on all these assumptions, of course. Right, so we also pulled together a regional bill comparison, as we call these. This is, again, we're saying your typical resident with the 3/4 inch meter. So A lot of the comparator cities don't have a lot of 1-inch connections. You do have a number of 3/4-inch connections, and so we wanted to show you both of these users. Since you have a different meter equivalency and minimum charge, again, you see a very small reduction. We've already talked about the 20-cent change to that residential rate, but you see here in that top quartile, just below Roanoke and just ahead of UP or University Park. And if you go to the next, here it is, sorry, the 1-inch meter. So because a lot of our neighboring communities don't have a standard 1-inch rate, and many may or may not charge their residents by meter equivalency or higher for the 1-inch, you are actually here leading the pack for residential typical bills at around $377. This is using all the data we could from October 2025. That doesn't mean there aren't some with pending rate changes that we didn't see online for 26, but it's the latest data we could amass. So again, a commercial customer with 25,000 gallons of usage and a 1-inch meter. Again, similarly to your residential customer, you're towards the upper end of this continuum. At $994, that would reduce slightly. And if you'll go to the next slide, here you actually, as discussed previously, you'd see some reductions for commercial that would actually put you down a notch from the top of the charts down to the second, just below Roanoke. So with a quick summary, I won't read all these to you, but the key elements were we could see a slight reduction to a typical residential bill. We'd change up our rate design, again moving that top tier from 400 to 100,000. We would change the way we bill for residential and commercial by altering the tier differential. We have no increases expected on the minimum charges through 2031. And then we'd have that 1 year of volumetric rate increases that we would anticipate in fiscal 29. Didn't spend a lot of time on it, but we think it's a big plus that while we do this, we're also able to save the town and academy accounts by paying for water at cost instead of following this rate design for the other retail rates. And just said before, we can meet financial targets as proposed. So other than next steps, be glad to answer any questions you have about the key elements of the study.
So a couple of questions. How often do we do this study?
Well, we should be doing these about every 3 to 5 years.
Every 3 to
5
5
at the very maximum. But
when's the last time we've done it?
In 2022.
22, okay. And then if something...
If we have a major change commercially, then we would do another rate study.
Okay.
That's something that we keep in mind. And it's something that we know in a couple of years, if all things pan out, that we're going to have another super user join the group. And if that's the case, then we'll need to make some adjustments.
Okay, that was the question. Thanks, Wayne. Any questions from council? No. Matthew, thank you very much. Casey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now have the consent agenda, and I just want to make a couple of comments. We have 12 items on the consent agenda, and just for the people listening, people that are here listening, the consent agenda, these are, all these expenditures listed on the consent agenda have been previously authorized in the town and adopted in the fiscal budget, so there's a lot of money that I don't want to look like we're just kind of rubber stamping these things and getting through. These all have been discussed in other meetings, but I think we want to pull out one issue on the consent agenda. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Reeves wants to pull out item F10. Can I get a motion to approve everything on the consent agenda other than F10?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Kevin, on video conference, thank you, sir, for your vote. We're going to discuss F10, discuss, consider, and act to approve WA Resolution 25-25 to update the Westlake Academy's compensation plan by revising both the administrative schedule and the supplementary and summer schedule. Is that Sandy or Kelly? They're both running up there. Yeah.
Good evening. It would depend on the type of questions that you have, if it's either Dr. Ritchie or myself.
Sure. I just wanted you to give a quick overview so that
Understandably. Speak to the reclass. Okay.
So as it is in the packet, one of the things that we talked about going into this year was how to maximize the experience that our kids are able to have in the after-school programs as well as summer programming. What we found this summer, typically at a school like this, and we're going to be revamping some things, so we'll see how it works, but typically at a school like Westlake Academy, you would have a pretty robust summer programming. What we found was we're not meeting people where they are for some reason. Those programs were widely underutilized. We ran programs that only drew like 1 to 3 students each in each of those, and obviously we were having buildings that were air conditioned, we had staff that was there, we were running programs that just weren't efficient. So in one of our positions this year, we have an individual who's kind of really taken the lead on cleaning up some of the systems around student programming. You saw that with the house system. I don't know for those of you who were able to follow some of the updates I was sending about our house assembly as well as the basketball tournament after school. That really has been spearheaded heavily by one of our roles this year that is in a paraprofessional position. And what we also have asked her to do is to take on a little more lead with making sure that our after-school programming as well as our summer programming matches our standards for what we would expect for our students and our families. And she has thrown herself into that work. However, that comes with a lot of, because she's a paraprofessional, that's coming with a lot of additional time outside of her contracted hour, her allotted hours. I don't want to use the wrong word. So it doesn't make sense to continue to just pay overtime. What we're trying to do is set a salary schedule that makes sense and is representative of the number of hours of work that she's doing to provide this student programming, again, in the way that we would want it to be front-facing for our families. So that's the ask, is that we move her from a paraprofessional standard salary schedule to a salary schedule that is more representative of the hours and the work that is going into it.
So ultimately, this isn't really a personnel decision. It's just an update to the schedule of compensation.
Correct. Yeah. That's.
Well said.
Did he say that correctly? I don't want to say yes with that.
So
We asked that again.
So sorry. Ultimately, this isn't a personnel decision. It's just it requires council to vote on it because it's an update to the previously approved schedule of compensation for the academy.
That's correct.
Correct. And if I may add, it's not only the number of hours that were changed, but the types of duties that will be added to this position, because it needs to be in an administrative role and having the discretion to make decisions. So that is what constitutes an administrative position versus a paraprofessional.
The other thing we should note is that the increase in the compensation is going to be covered by the revenue from the programming. So we do not anticipate, nor have we planned for, any budgetary impact with this.
Oh, well done.
It's just a result of offering better programming that is more aligned to the family's interest. And we did see that this fall. Everything that we booked, I think all but 2 classes completely booked out for this fall. And we're getting ready to start doing preparation for spring programming.
But just to confirm, when you say classes, you mean the after-school programs?
I'm sorry, yes, after-school enrichment classes, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Different than our daytime classes, yes.
Should hope they're full all the time.
Yes, they're full all the time, yes.
That would be a problem.
Other questions
Okay.
about that?
No, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you all very much.
Can I get a motion to approve agenda item F10?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries again. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, regular agenda items. Agenda item G1, this was tabled on 9/16/25. Discuss, consider, act to approve the Westlake Academy Parent-Student Handbook. Yeah.
Thank you. So this was tabled. If you'll see, what we did this time was we pulled out the consent agenda, which is what the board actually approves, and then the parent-student handbook is, our code of conduct is in the parent-student handbook, but really all the board approves is the code of conduct. And so we did that during consent agenda, so this is just superfluous at this point.
I knew that. I apologize.
That's okay.
That.
No worries.
But we do have to take a vote on it. Do I have a motion to approve item G, or do I not?
So moved.
It's a motion to take no action.
Take no action.
Motion to take no action on item G1.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Okay, G2 was also tabled on 9/16. Discuss, consider, and act regarding a technology plan for Westlake Academy class of 2020.
Yes. So the recommendation is to also take no action. We have been handling this and kind of have a really good, smooth program to deal with what we were handed by the state, which was unexpected by all of us. When that came down in July, we had to shift gears and figure out what that meant and follow some of the lead of the districts here in North Texas. And so we pulled on what they were doing and figured out what would work at our campus level. And Dr. Owen has been implementing that and reviewing those processes and taking pulses and surveys from the students to make sure that we're adapting as needed. And it's, by all accounts, working well.
Can you just, for the sake of this, there's a lot of emotion around this issue, I know. Can you kind of tell us the plans you took, Dr. Owens, what you've done, kind of exactly what we're doing, iPads, laptops, how it's working? Because there's a lot of, again, I just want to make sure I thoroughly understand, and I know that you guys have talked, so let's, I know parents.
Absolutely, and we, Dr. Owen and I have had numerous meetings about this, so you're going to come up.
But just tell us everything we do, what the students are saying again, and I want to make sure this thing is thoroughly covered and answers all the questions. We don't have these.
Yes, and I do want to commend Dr. Owen because he has really been front-facing with the students to ensure that everything is meeting their needs. And we did have, and I'm sure you'll speak about this, we had a major deadline with the extended essay drafts that just came, and every student got their draft in, which meant that in this given moment, they've had all the proper technology to be able to do that, because that's a mess.
Yeah, that's... And then I would also say, after we kind of cover this, in the next coming years, are we going to do the same? Is there any change to that? I hope everybody does understand what the state handed down on the technology side.
July.
Yeah. Again, everybody, don't forget to vote in this coming election. We need friends in Austin. But are we going to do anything different next year? Do we think this works? And just try to give us a whole picture of.
So we're in conversations right now. Dr. Owen and I have been meeting with Jason and Ray, and we have talked about what that might look like. As you all know, a brand new lease was just approved right before we found out about this. So we are in a lease currently for all of the iPads, but Jason is going to talk to our lease supplier and find out if there's any way to potentially switch out some of that technology to have computers for those oldest students. And so we're fact-finding around what that would mean for the lease, for the financial impact, for the management of those devices, because there's a whole host of things that have to go into decisions like this. Right. And the way the computers, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, when we get those computers on the lease, they do not necessarily fit the specifications for the bill that was just passed. So am I saying that correctly?
That's correct. We have to put our management software on there, do all the things that need to be done to make them compliant.
To make them compliant.
Yeah, they come from Apple just like they would for you bought it at the store.
So that's expense and it's time. So this was not, there was no magic bullet to fix this, but I think we've done a pretty good job through, campus leadership and what's been happening there.
Kelly, can I just ask a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
Because this was sort of the root of it. Yes, no one knew what was, that this was coming, and so there's a lot of fear about what it might mean. Mm-hmm. Has there been any need raised from the students that they're technology needs are not
That's a
not
great
being
question.
adequately met? Because that's ultimately what we're trying to solve for. Is
Yeah.
like, are we meeting the needs of the students?
Absolutely, and that's our number one concern too. And you guys know, we stood before you, last month, 2 months ago, and talked about the results. Those results are on, they're in our hands, and we take those things very seriously. So we're never going to handicap a child from being able to get through the program in the way that we want them to be able to get through the program. As far as we know, and again, Dr. Owen will talk about this, but as far as we know, the feedback loop that we are getting on campus is that the kids are in good shape, and they all have access to computers. Dr. Owen has tweaked the system that we were using to make it even better for them when they come in, so that they are not logging into a different computer every day, and that's speeding up the time, the usability for that. And they are grabbing them. They all park in that general area for the most part. We have a few, I think, out on the gravel lot, but for the most part, they're all parking in the same location. So they go in through the 900 building. They are able to get their computer and go right into class without delay.
I think that was an important tweak.
It was a great tweak. And that was Dr. Owen. Credit to Dr. Owen for that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sorry.
That's okay. I'd be happy to clarify, the plan that we have for the seniors, and
Yes, thank you.
and how we sort of used senior feedback to tweak it. By September 19th, we had 72 MacBooks for the exclusive use of the seniors on campus during the day. So thank you to Jason and his team, especially Ray Workman, Mitch Wells on campus on getting these MacBooks ready. These were only 3 years old and previously used by faculty, so they were very reliable hardware. So on September 19th, any senior who wanted to sign out a laptop for the day could do so. And this is in addition to using their iPad as well. After 2 weeks, I did a senior survey to see how it was going and asked them for some feedback on any improvements that we could do. The survey showed that sort of around about 85% of the students were using the laptop at some point, but one of the tweaks that they wanted was those who use it on a consistent basis. They didn't want to do the sign out and sign back in anymore. It was a little bit cumbersome. Certainly what I didn't want to do was delay the start time of class as well. And so we tweaked it to an assigned system. Any senior who wanted an assigned laptop, a dedicated laptop for themselves, could have one. Just over 50 students said yes to that. So since October the 3rd, those 50 students have been able just to come in the morning, go into 900, grab a laptop, it's theirs for the day, just put it back at the end of the day as well. And then we also have 20 more laptops available for students who really don't use laptops that much, but if they wanted to use it on an ad hoc basis on any given day, it's there. So based on student feedback, this tweak definitely helped. Teachers were supportive of that tweak as well, because students weren't leaving class to go and get a laptop. So that's helped with instructional time as well. Based on sort of student feedback and also parents that I spoke to as well, their primary concern was how would this impact sort of student research, especially the extended essay, the internal assessments, where the demands for research and writing are a little bit different than what you might expect to do on an iPad. The feedback that I've got there is it's working. It's working for 2 reasons. Firstly, on the student-assigned laptops, they can log into their Google Drive, and the work that they can be done there is automatically saved, and when they go home on their personal device, log back into the Google Drive, everything is there. Everything is there. A happy knock-on effect that, as an educator, that I'm happy with as well with research, is it's really promoted proper research practices of being organized with notes and saving the hyperlinks to the research that you are doing. Actually, this, I think, has actually improved the writing, because what students are doing now is, rather than having 20 tabs open and paraphrasing one tab at a time into paragraphs, they're actually being more organized and synthesizing their research, because they're organizing it so they can use it for their personal device when they get home. So instructionally, I think this has been good as well. Also, feedback from the students, they like the flexibility of having the assigned laptops, but also their iPad as well. Again, this means that we can be flexible with the educational needs of our students. If they're in a math class where they use Notability to do their sums, they can use their iPad. If they're in theory of knowledge, or if they're in the dedicated advisory time for extended essay, they can get their laptop and do the research. So it's provided the flexibility which has convinced me that the students' educational needs are being fully supported as seniors.
So 2 questions. What is the senior class count?
Sorry?
How many students are in the senior class?
We have 72 seniors.
72. So you said about 50, a little bit over 50 are using
50 wanted an assigned laptop that reflected the nature of their use, which was they use it pretty much every day.
Okay. But the other students, obviously there are laptops available for those
There are 20 others, right?
Plus if they
Yes,
need them.
yes. If every single senior wanted to use it at the same time, there would be enough.
Okay.
But we have seniors who actually prefer iPads for personal
sure.
preference.
And then the other question was, I know that IAs are coming up. It's going to become a really hectic time for these students. You feel that still this won't impede them in terms?
No, because any student who wants to access a laptop for that, it will fully support that. But also, I think the connection between doing a successful internal assessment, having the right tools is part of it. But what's even more important is having the right skills. And certainly by being organized with research and making sure that stuff during classes is fully organized and transferable so they can work on it at home, that in itself is promoting successful work on the IAs.
But Dr. Owens, what if we have a student that doesn't have technology at the home? What do we do? Is there anything?
Well, they would have their iPad.
Their iPad still.
Certainly, but any student who that was the case, I would encourage them to come and speak with me.
Okay, good.
We would 100% take care of that. If we found out a student went home without a laptop or a desktop computer, I mean, that would be something that we would definitely deal with. That would be a case-by-case situation.
Good. I hope it happens.
I mean, I appreciate that you guys are doing this. Sounds like it's working. Obviously, we would prefer to have the students to have a laptop to go home with them every day. Ideally, that's kind of what the one-to-one technology initiative it was about. And in the past, the students were allowed to bring their own devices, and so that really helped them. I realize that we're pivoting here, but I think that we definitely need to look at the possibility of getting laptops for all the students moving forward. But I appreciate that this is working now.
There might be an issue with that, though. And that is once I'll look to Jason for this. Once you let go of that iPad, how do you, without looking at it when you bring it back to school, how do you know you're complying? Who knows what could be downloaded?
But they're locked down.
Our software, you can't.
You can't.
The management software, you can't do it.
Okay. Well, that's
on or off.
And I know that probably brings up an issue because we don't. I mean, I know that we originally talked about, letting the students pick which technology they want. Do they want a laptop? Do they want an iPad? And I know you're saying in certain classes they do use iPads, but that wouldn't preclude them from having iPads on a cart that they could check out during the day if they decided to take a laptop home. If they, I'm thinking more for next year or in the future as we move forward, because I think that ideally, I think that the DP students deserve to have a laptop and be able to do their work.
Yes, absolutely. I do want, since we're on video and this has been a particularly charged issue, I do want to caution over-promising on what we can issue for technology, because those iPads are a brand new lease, and it's possible we would have to switch some of those out to be able to do. Jason, am I wrong about that? Like, that would be a discussion that would have to happen with the leasing company?
Right. We would.
Or different options that we could look at.
No, and I just wanted to make sure we weren't floating like a plan. So,
and I'd also like to say, I know you mentioned iPad on a cart. The iPad is really a single user device. It's hard to share.
Right.
So they work great for one-to-one.
So
you can assign it to one person.
Every student gets issued an iPad.
Correct. Right now, every student has a brand new iPad.
Can I just make sure that understand this in summary? We have a solution that's working. We're going to be working on a solution for next year.
That's correct.
Summary.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it hadn't been easier, and thank your state legislatures for giving us time.
And also, I mean, really, thank you to Dr. Owen,
Yeah,
to
Dr. Owens,
Ms.
thank you.
Richois. They have been intimately involved in this work to make sure the students have everything they need. And to Jason and Ray, we've been in several meetings about this. So it's been a really collaborative process to get over the hump of what we were handed at really bad timing. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Owens, very much. Dr. Ritchie, thank you. Can I get a motion for no action on agenda item G2?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much, Dr. Ritchie, and all the parents and all the students have kind of had to go through this with us. Agenda item G3, discuss, consider, and act regarding Resolution 25-34 approving the participation of the town in the Texas Enterprise Zone program pursuant to the Texas Enterprise Zone Act, Chapter 2303 of the Texas Local Government Code as amended, nominating Goosehead Insurance, LLC, to the Governor's Office for Economic Development and Tourism as an enterprise project through the Economic Development Bank, and authorizing execution of the town manager or their designee of any related documents and action to support that nomination. I think we just lost quorum.
Oh, he's here.
He
stayed in the room.
Heard
He's
the
just
door.
getting something
Okay,
to drink.
sorry.
And I apologize for the agenda language on that one, Mayor. That's a lot. So
That's okay. That's what they pay me for.
That's right. That's right. This is a great item I'm bringing forward tonight, Mayor and council members. First of all, good evening, and glad you guys that were able to be here tonight. And thank you, Kevin, for participating remotely and ensuring that we have ample number of council members here. What you see before you is a request from Goosehead Insurance to become an enterprise zone as a part of the Texas Enterprise Zone Act, which again is Chapter 2303 of the Texas Local Government Code. Really, what this act does is it allows a tax reimbursement from sales tax generated at the state level back to anyone that we would deem as a part of this enterprise zone. In section or subsection F, you'll see that there are specific, and I'm going to skip through some of these. I love Jason. He's a lot more detail oriented than I am, and we can pop back to these if we need to. But in subchapter F in Local Government Code 2303, you'll see all the requirements for us to consider them for a enterprise zone. We have done the homework here. We received all the information that we need from Goosehead, and they do qualify. And some of those qualifications I'll skip to very quickly is they've spent $9.3 million in capital projects here in Westlake, which is outstanding. And then they have a creation of over 815 jobs in Westlake. 490 of those are full-time positions. They're required to keep those jobs for a certain amount of years in order to qualify for this program. In qualifying for this program, this is a great thing for them as well. You'll see there that they have $1.25 million in sales tax that they are eligible for reimbursement for. Now, this is done on a case-by-case basis. Annually, they have to supply the paperwork to the state of Texas that says, we've retained this many jobs, we've spent this much money in the state of Texas, and then that calculation is done and that reimbursement is done. The greatest part...
Wait, sorry, can I just ask one question on the prior slide? This prior slide anticipated a spend? The next slide before that, you skipped through a couple. This one here.
No.
Anticipates a spend, or
no,
they've already
they
made this
needed
investment?
to spend $9.3 million in order to qualify for the jumbo user as part of this.
So that is what they would still need to spend. That's not what they've already spent.
They have. That's correct. I'm sorry. Yes, they have. They have not spent that, but they will need to spend that to enable them to get the 1.25 million.
Okay, so if I understand this
There's
correctly,
a portion of that they're
going to get a tax rebate from the state, which is net neutral to us.
That is correct.
And they have to spend the money here in our town.
That's correct. Right. They get tax money from the state. They got to spend the money here in our town, and it does not affect our revenues whatsoever. So we've ensured that they will qualify for the project, and they have the means and the capabilities to turn in the reports annually. They're required to both the town and to the state of Texas, and we are recommending that we approve them as an enterprise project.
Good point.
So moved.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve Resolution 25-34 as presented?
He's already done.
So moved.
Okay, way ahead of me. Can I get a second? We're on the path. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Wade, thank you very much. Agenda item G4, discuss, consider, and act to approve Resolution 25-48, ratifying actions approved by the Westlake Development Corporation, WDC, to amend the WC operating budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026 by increasing expenditures in amount not to exceed $35,000 to approve a professional services contract between the WDC and Lou Oliver, Inc. for conceptual site plan services for the Entrada development.
All right, good evening again. And on our next item here, annually, just to kind of go backwards in time, annually we propose a budget through the Westlake Development Corporation. That budget is approved by the Westlake Development Corporation, then has to come for final approval from this body. So anytime we have an adjustment to that proposed budget, it'll come to this body again for approval. So in the last meeting on the 15th of this month, the Westlake Development Corporation heard from staff at a request for us to complete the planning for the master planning for the Entrada. So if you'll recall, several months ago, we reported back that we were working with Lou Oliver at the cost of Michael Beatty to begin that process. That process, he paid for approximately 50% of that project, and we did what was absolutely necessary to work on getting some of those high-priced, high-named retailers in that we've been talking about that we can't share publicly yet. So this $35,000 is to finish out that entire program. Yeah. So he would do the master planning of all of that development. We've been working with Michael Beatty on this as well as Lou Oliver, and what you'll see next month come before you is a developer's agreement where he's going to, and he's already done this verbally, he is agreeing to, and now council will need to say that this new master plan is our master plan for Entrada, and he agrees to build it as designed by Lou Oliver. So all this item is a amendment to your budget and allowing us to spend that $35,000 on Lou Oliver to do the master planning for Entrada.
I think several council members met with Lou while he was here, right, to see
That's
what
correct.
they're doing,
Yes,
and we had a very
Yes, sir.
good Economic Development Committee meeting. Got great feedback.
Okay. Any questions?
Can I get a motion to approve Resolution 25-48 as presented? Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. G5, discuss, consider, and act to approve Resolution 25-47, ratifying the authorization by the town manager for the emergency repair of a water infrastructure by Global Pump Solutions for the replacement of a 250 horsepower motor and starter pump number 4 at the town's water pump station, the amount not to exceed $78,000, utilizing by board contract number 770-25. Al, how are you, bud?
Hey, good. Good evening, Mayor, Town Council. Like you're saying, before you deny his request to authorize expenditures with Global Pump Solutions in an amount not to exceed $78,000. This is going to be utilizing by board contractual pricing. This is a critical motor that provides control and pressurizes the effluent flow of water out of the water pump station that we buy from Fort Worth. We made a decision to use local government code where I ordered one new 250 horsepower VFD and a VFD motor starter using this contract to expedite the repairs. Local government 252 allows emergency procurement necessary because of unforeseen damage to public machinery, equipment, or other property. Right here is our pump station. This is the pump station that supplies domestic drinking water and fire protection to the entire town. It's located on 377, and it was constructed in 2001. This pump station houses 5 booster pumps, 4 of which are original to the pump station. 2 of them are smaller 800 gallon per minute pumps, and the other 2 are 3,700 gallon per minute pumps. And then we added, those are original to the pump station, and then in 2020, that They added a fifth pump, and it's also a 3,700 gallon per minute pump.
What's the normal life on these pumps?
Typically, you run them for 10 years, just depending on wear and tear on each pump. You know,
Some of these are
pumps,
24 years old?
These pumps are 24, 25 years old. Never been rebuilt. Like I said, they're original to the pump station.
Then Kyle, I have a question. We're just now doing an allocation for the motor, right, for the pump? So it sounds like this is a little bit of a Band-Aid on a wound? We're not replacing the whole pump with this allocation right now, correct?
No, sir. What we're doing is we're putting a new motor, 250 horsepower motor, with new technology, the variable frequency drive. The other starter is a RVAT starter. It's a reduced voltage auto transformer, just so you know.
Yep.
And anyway, that technology's obsolete, basically.
Right.
So we're actually putting in the latest and the greatest.
Well, after 24 years, what the heck?
Well, I'm wondering, what is this? What's the next thing that comes down the pipe on repair on this?
I'm sorry?
What's the next project after this? Because this seems like just one part of.
Oh, it is.
What you're telling me is this is.
Yeah, this is an emergency repair for a pump that will not fire up, and when we try to start it, it's tripping the power out to the entire pump station.
Right. So this is just we have to do this. It's an emergency situation.
That is correct.
Yeah.
When did it go out?
I'm sorry?
When did it go out?
So we're in the process, and I'll get to that in just a second, but we're actually in the process right here of. Y'all previously approved us to replace these control valves 3 and 4 on pumps 3 and 4. We were in the process of doing that and trying to start up pump 4. It started tripping out and throwing power to the whole pump station. So that's what this is. That's what contributed to this. It's just going through changing these components, some of these things that were recommended during the Freeze and Nichols condition assessment of the pump station.
Yeah.
So now we're seeking approval to replace this motor and this motor starter. So right here, this is an overview of our SCADA system. This is the actual booster station that you see here. You'll see what I want you to pay attention to, is these 5 pumps, right? So these first 2 pumps are the 800 gallon per minute pumps. They're really, for the lack of better words, worthless. Right? Just shoot.
What would be another word for that? That would be worse.
Way to sugar.
They won't fill the water tower. That's all I can tell you.
Fire trucks have bigger pumps. Honestly, fire trucks got a bigger pump than that.
So those are identified that they need to be upgraded. So that's coming down the road. That'll be a professional services agreement that Cheryl's going to put together with an engineering firm here in the very near future. But these 3 pumps right here, pumps 3, 4, and 5, those are the 3,700 gallon per minute pumps, right? And so we want to make sure that we have a spare pump on hand and not be down to just 1 pump, right? So we've got to do this because of the demand on the system. We need 2 of those 3,700 gallon per minute pumps running 24/7.
Oh, I'm just simple terms. 60% of our pumps are worthless, based on this picture.
Well, we'll fix, yeah.
We'll go on to 40%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get back to 60%, I guess, is
okay.
Once we make this repair that's recommended in front of you.
Okay.
So
maybe can I piggyback on something that TJ asked? I think I understood what he was asking. We've been going through an assessment.
That's correct.
When do we think we'll have a better handle on the additional work that needs to be done to get these things?
So I know that we're meeting with an engineering firm in the first part of November to go on site and take a look at the pump station. We've already met, internally with them, but to get a bigger picture as far as coordination, as far as steps, because you just don't go out there and start, turn the power off. It's the only pump station we have. So we've got to talk through some things and make sure that we get the right players involved, on the project.
Yeah, so
because
it
it's
just
very
sounds like
sensitive.
there's a much bigger project in front of us this
It's
evening. We
huge.
need to sign off on a $78,000
I can't
expenditure.
stress that enough. It
Okay.
is
Kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah,
It's just. I guess what I'm trying to get is for tonight. We just got to say, yep, spend the money. Get this third pump up and running, and we're good.
absolutely.
Kyle, worst case scenario, Wade, Kyle, worst case scenario, these pumps go out, what happens? But I mean, what?
Yeah, so right now, the two green pumps that you see on the screen, what Kyle's talking about is those things run pretty much together all day, 24 hours a day. If one of those pumps were to fail, without having that third pump in line that we can, because really what you try to do is you rest a pump, and that correct, Kyle? You rest a pump for a certain period of time, and you rotate those usage around so that you don't have a failure. But right now, we've got two pumps that are working 24/7 just to get us the water volume that we need every single day.
Water out of the water line into our water tanks, right?
That's
It's
correct.
that
Yes,
simple.
sir. That's correct.
But if these pumps went out, the water doesn't get contaminated, we just don't have water access.
That's correct.
Yeah,
so then
you lose
the
pressure.
ability.
It's
Boil
almost as
water
bad
notice.
as a boil
Yeah.
water notice,
Yeah.
right? So,
So
That's
you
right.
get them back up. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, this is
You've sold the horse. We can move.
yeah, this is cheap insurance. It's just, but we can't move forward with the other repairs on pump 3 until we get this one done. And we've already replaced the motor on pump 3 last summer, and so I feel like we're in a good spot, and we just got to get there first. We got to crawl before we can walk. So
we're going to approve this. I want to thank you, Cheryl, again. I know you guys walked into a less than ideal situation. You guys have been very kind, very politically correct, but we do understand we have to get all this fixed. So, and it's time. So, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2547 as presented?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Flanagan, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item G6, discuss, consider, and act regarding the start time for regular meetings of the Town Council Board of Trustees and authorize amendment to the FY 25-26 meeting calendar accordingly. Wade, we're going to talk about just the calendar, and there's a new law
Yes,
that
sir.
came into place that we can't start
That's correct.
school meetings before 5, so we moved our meetings up, and this is another discussion I think that Michael might have had.
That's correct.
Option.
I'd be happy to talk about it.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think it's a good idea for us to bifurcate our work on town council and our work as the board. There's a couple ways we can do that. We can start our work as we did before until 2 months ago at 4 o'clock for the town. If we have to go beyond 5 o'clock to get the work done, we can do that and start the meeting of the Board of Trustees afterwards. If we finish our work before 5 o'clock, during the meeting until the start, we recess until the 5 o'clock meeting starts. If there are items that has to cross over between the two, we can have a joint meeting. But I think we really need to take off our hat from the town council when we can, put on our hat as the Board of Trustees, work that way. That's my recommendation.
Let me ask you this. Does that put in extra work on the town of dividing the agenda and doing any extra? And I want to get Dr. Ritchie's input.
Sure. I think that, if we have two complete separate meetings with an open and a close of one group and then an open and a close in the other, then we're going to be required to do two separate agendas, post two separate agendas. Yeah. You can accomplish very similarly to the same thing by having a single meeting, single agenda, but ensuring that there are no school items that are talked about before 5 o'clock. And that way you can have a single opening, a single close. If for some reason in an odd situation we get done with all town business prior to 5, we'd simply have to take a recess until 5 o'clock to be able to achieve that. That is one way, but the other way is absolutely what Mr. Ukira was saying, is we could create two agendas and open and close one meeting and then open and close a second. I just feel like that there's going to be several times where we're going to have items that bleed across as we are with as many shared services as we have in the town.
I welcome discussion.
Can I intervene? But I think part of the reason why the school board meetings aren't allowed to start now per the legislature is that, before 5 o'clock, people are presumably working, right?
Yeah.
And that's also the case for
Yeah.
the council, right? Including the members of the councils who are still full-time employed. And so, 4 o'clock start time is not just relatively inconvenient for the board, or for the school board and the parents. It's not incredibly convenient, for sort of the regular workday as well. So, and that's for people who would want to attend the town council meeting as well. So if we're typically doing our, items of public interest and our, open discussion from, or open community comments, then that makes it harder if they're not, people have to leave work earlier, leave school earlier, get their kids early to be able to get here and participate in that part. Right? And that's always at the start of the meeting.
Dr. Richard, do you have any thoughts on this? Or
I'm glad y'all are discussing this, because just in case anybody thinks I asked for board meetings to be changed, it's good for people to know that this actually was another piece of the legislative session. Yes,
and with the right intent, to be honest.
Yes, which it was a great intent, so that more people can participate in these decisions and discussions. So I love the idea of having, some kind of, just like Michael described it, you're putting your school hat on versus your municipal hat. These will always be intricately connected discussions, just because of the nature of the town being our charter holder. But there are things sometimes that I think would be nice if we saw them through more of a school lens than through a municipal lens. To Wade's point, the practicality of that becomes, it just, can we overcome the logistics of that?
So, but Michael, your proposal is kind of start at 4 to get an earlier start, where that kind of puts issue on non-retired folks.
4 o'clock is where we've started the meeting for a long time.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm suggesting starting the town council. I understand it might be an issue, but it's an issue month for you.
So, any other feedback, Tammy? Do you have thoughts? Kevin, any thoughts from you?
I'm available anytime. I'm pretty much retired, so 4 or 5 o'clock works for me, either one.
Okay.
How about 9 at night? Would that work for you?
We will be done by then. I mean, what's the thought here? I mean, like,
it is completely up to this body on what they would like to do. I mean, we've kind of laid out the pros and cons of both. I think that we often have executive sessions, especially that go longer into the evening, right? But that's really just up to this body and what you would like to do for start times and how we want to break this apart.
Well, I need a proposal on what we're going to do. I mean, do you want it?
I think ways. I'd like to just suggest that we decide that Wade's suggestion, which is have one agenda, 2 parts.
Okay.
And we start the second part whenever we've completed the first part, or 5 o'clock, whichever is later.
I think we might have an issue from our attorney.
I think there's a risk if you're posting a school board meeting start time. I mean, I understand that you're planning to manage the agenda, but the way the new legislation is written, it prohibits a school board meeting from occurring during regular work hours. So it's not a 5 o'clock deadline. It cannot occur during regular school or during regular work hours.
Well, we're not suggesting that, Jen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were suggesting having one agenda that started at 4 p.m. So your start time is going to be, for the meeting, is going to be 4 p.m.
Even though you don't talk about school things, you're worried that
You'd need 2 agendas.
We would be drug into that.
You'd need 2 agendas. How difficult is that, Diana?
That can be accomplished.
You didn't really answer the question.
You can do anything. I know that, Diana, but how difficult is it for you, seriously? I mean, how much more work is it for you?
Pledges. Yeah, I think then you have to reopen a meeting, right? So you'd have to do all the typical stuff at the start of the meeting.
I mean, personally, if that's the case, I think.
Yeah.
I'll speak. It is doubling her work, right? Even though I say doubling, it's a third more
Diana.
work, right? So it's a third more work for her to be able to put it together.
So we'd we do what you suggested, which is have one agenda with the front end of it, town council stuff, back end of it.
At least bifurcate the two.
Right. Janet, is there a way that we can document on an agenda that no school items, I can barely see you, sorry, I'm short, that there's a way we could document on the agenda that no school items will be started or a start time for school items within a same agenda? I don't know if that's even possible, Diana.
Well, in the packet, there was sample 1 and sample 2. Sample 1 at the beginning of the meeting notice gives the same date, but it shows that the town council meeting is at 4 o'clock and the board of trustees meeting is at 5 o'clock. There is also a note that says to comply with Senate Bill 12 that Westlake Academy items will begin no earlier than 5 p.m., but may start later depending on the progression of the posted agenda items.
I thought that was satisfactory. Is that not satisfactory from your perspective?
You can certainly try it.
Okay, what happens if we violate this law? What's the penalty?
Well, what's interesting is that it's not an Open Meetings Act provision. It's a Texas Education Code provision. So it would not be a violation of the Open.
Okay.
You would just be violating that provision of the text if they determined that was inappropriate.
The way that I read is that each community or each school district is to determine what outside of business hours is for their community. So I don't know if that would be something that would need to be included in a survey or how you could really, I mean, that is so vague. I don't really know how they expect a school district to determine that because you have so many people working remotely. You have so many.
Yeah, but 8 to 5 is kind of considered the normal work. I think that was the intent of it.
And in saying that, a concern is, okay, if someone is working until 5 and we're starting school items at 5, do they really have time to get here and give their input? I think that's what the primary concern is.
Jason, could you pull up the example agenda and let's have a look at it and see what Janet says there?
I like this alternative.
So that one's sample 1, and I've got sample 2.
That's the first one that shows 4 o'clock start time.
Yeah,
I like this one.
So one agenda stating 2 different set times. Janet, I need your help.
So I mean that reflects that it really is a separate meeting with a shared agenda.
Okay.
I like that idea. I like the 4 and the 5 separation personally. But
So you think that covers us? Okay.
We'll look at number 2. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at number 2 just to show.
Number 2 is the same thing starting at 5 o'clock. Basically.
It's really just what
That
we
looks
feel
the
meets the letter of the law or the intent of the law.
Oh, I see.
One way or the other.
Yes.
it seems like the 4 o'clock meeting probably in most cases would spill over past 5 o'clock anyway.
Yeah.
But of today?
Yeah. I mean, on average, I think it always does.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think we'd be done by 5 o'clock. So I think that would give people time to get here if it was, 5:30 or whatever.
So do we believe, Janet, that either of those, and Kelly, that either of those agendas would work?
I mean, as long as we're within the expectations of the law, I think that would be great. And the one thing I would like to continue is just having the kids open. I think the kids doing the pledge is one of the best parts of the meeting. I don't know if it is for me. So if we could continue that, maybe to open the meeting.
Yeah.
They don't stay for the meeting anyway,
That's right.
so they can come in and open. And then
I don't want to lose that. That's a great point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good point.
So look, I think we're kind of at a consensus on this. Someone want to make a motion?
Okay. Before we make a motion, I want to just do one more thing real quick because since we're looking at this, both agendas really kind of meet our needs, then I kind of want to throw it to Diana and say, which of those two agendas does staff suggest that we follow?
Yeah.
I prefer sample one.
I do too.
I like that one too.
Primarily because,
Look at
you know, and it will be, we will have to work together to get this to work, to be effective, but it actually has a separate section for parent comments to start after 5. I mean, there are some things that are going to be duplicated, and there's no way to get around that.
Yeah.
Well, in 18 months, we've had like 3 parent comments so far. So, not that we don't welcome them, but we just haven't had a lot of those. And but I like that. I actually like that for the school too, because they'll have a little more time to get here. We want to be very open.
We run the shorter agenda too, so we can close out quickly.
Okay.
Yes, Candy, that would be great.
Because we have an approved calendar, and we have an approved calendar with start times at 5 o'clock, we would need to make a motion to make the changes to the calendar, have the town's portion of the agenda start at 4, and the school's portion of the agenda not to start till after 5, using example 1 of 2 agenda examples.
What he said.
Do I have a motion for a full year 25-26 meeting calendar change accordingly to segregate the start time at 4 o'clock for the town and 5 o'clock for Westlake Academy?
Moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Great discussion. Executive session. The time is now 6:58 p.m. As provided by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Town Council will now adjourn into executive session to consult with town and/or school attorneys regarding the following items. H.1, Section 551.071, consultation with legal advice from Academy attorney regarding Westlake Academy affiliate group, Westlake Academy Athletic Club, WAAC. H.2, Section 551.072, deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 488 and 52 Corona and 34 Cortez, Westlake Entrada, Westlake. We now adjourn into executive session.